Good morning. Happy Moon Day, everyone. I hope you all had a great weekend. It was Halloween. If you were in most parts of Canada, there was the fall back as well, the time change. So we all got a little bit extra sleep for the most part. I am feeling well rested, although waking up around 6 a.m. I don't really feel like there's a whole lot for me to do when it's so dark, but I will get used to that. It's an excuse. Good morning. Thank you for joining. It is an excuse to see the moon in the morning as opposed to the nighttime. I can see the moon from my window when I rise in the morning now that it's so dark. So I have a beacon card that I want to start with, but I do want to just talk about the placements of the planets this week. As you know, a few planets have been in retrograde for a while. Mercury retrograde began a couple of weeks ago, and the effects might have started even 3 weeks ago or a month ago. Now, Mercury stations direct tomorrow on November 3rd, so there will be a little bit less friction in terms of communication and mail and technology. But the effects of this retrograde do continue for a little bit of a shadow period for about a week or two after. So even though this retrograde is finished, keep on your toes. Just be ready for anything because, and give yourself lots of time when you're trying to make it from place to place on a tight schedule, because that energy is definitely still here. It's 2020 as well, so everything is amplified a little bit more. So we start this week off with a little bit of that full moon energy still present, and the full moon was in Taurus, and the moon moves into Gemini, Cancer, and then Leo later this week. And there's a lot of Leo, fire, sun energy in this spread, which I love. The beacon card this week is the 8th card in the major arcana. Bless you, Tim. And this is the strength card. You can see the vibrant colors, the red, the yellow, lots of passion and heart in this energy. And this signifies inner strength. So we know that the American elections are coming up this week. Who knows? Good morning. Thanks for joining me, you guys. Who knows what will happen? Who knows if we'll even get the results this week because of all of the retrograde, and I'm hearing there's a lot of friction in office. So I don't expect much to happen, but if we tap into our inner strength and remember what we are feeling like we need to start right now, that will carry us through. I'm just going to look at my notes here. So with this lion, this kind of represents our inner animal instincts or our wild selves, or our wild woman self. If you have read the book Wild Woman, there's a lot of allusion to the lion in there and the wolf. And this is just gaining more comfortable, just being more comfortable with your wild instincts or the more savage parts of you that society has deemed wrong or bad or unacceptable. Just accepting that that is a part of you and loving yourself as a whole is what I get from this card. So that's what we can tap into this week. If we have any gut instincts, any feelings in our body, it's good to listen to them. And this is in regards to people, places, things, decisions. Is that want coming from your head? Or is that urge to say yes coming from your head? Or is it coming from your gut? Right now, we need to be listening to our instincts and our intuition, just with all of the energies at play as Halloween was this weekend. It was also Samhain, which is the beginning of the wheel of the year in a lot of cultures and in pagan culture. And with that comes a lot of potential energy from other realms and the thinning of the veil. So at the same token, we are susceptible to certain negative thought patterns, but we're also susceptible to new perspectives and a new way of accepting ourselves and seeing our maybe parts that we've shunned or shamed before as whole, beautiful pieces of ourselves. And we're a work of art. And all of those pieces are imperative to creating our soul. So just remember that this week. Don't look for strength in anything outside of yourself, although our relationships are going to be important to lean on. Remember that you have to cultivate the strength in yourself before you do reach out, and make sure that you're reaching out for the right reasons as well, not to just dump your stuff on anyone else. So one other thing I want to mention is just over the weekend with Halloween costumes and the world that we're living in right now, and at least the way that I have been growing this year, I've realized that this inner strength is going to be important for us, especially when we do encounter situations where people are perpetuating oppression or supporting those who perpetuate oppression, or perpetuating racist ideals, or appropriating other cultures. It's really important to speak up about those things right now. And having this inner strength allows you to do that without the fear of having someone upset at you. For example, I'm not sure if a lot of people know, but the author of Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, over the past year, and it may be longer than that, she's been tweeting about trans folks in the most deplorable way, directly to trans folks. She's been fighting for rights to be taken away. And recently she released an excerpt from her new book, which actually villainizes trans folks. They're literally the villains in the story, and the way to have a happy ending is to kill them all. So things like that, that maybe not everyone is aware of. If you know about things like that, and you see acquaintances of yours, friends of yours that you know probably wouldn't align with those beliefs, it is worth it to slide them a little bit of information, and not publicly. It's not necessary to shame anyone because we're all learning, but we need to hold each other accountable. And this strength is going to be necessary for that. And that goes further than just Halloween, or, you know, when you see all of your friends on holidays. If you see someone posting on social media and maybe stigmatizing things like mental health, or STIs, or obesity, it's not okay. So we need to tap into this right now, because I don't think this ends here. I think this is just the beginning of an era where we begin holding others accountable in order to bring justice and strength to everyone. Because not everyone has this inner strength, but it comes from you. Once you get it and you plant the seed in someone else to help someone else have a little bit more inner strength, and everyone can live in a world where they don't feel like that person doesn't understand how they're oppressing them, we will get on the right path. But it takes time, and it starts with your inner strength. And with the exact same vibration as the Strength card, my intuitive pull is the 8 of Wands. And the number 8 has a lot of positive energy to it. It is really strong. Even looking at the way number 8 is drawn, here it is on the crown. If you were to press down on that figure, it would never break. It would really just bend. It might get longer in some places, but that symbol is infinite, literally. So this energy is really positive. It tells us if there's anything that you've been wanting to start or trying to start, but you haven't felt that it was the right time, or maybe you have felt a little bit stuck with all of these strange energies at play. Perhaps over the last weekend and the full moon, you have realized, maybe just like me, because all of these messages are relevant to me, you've realized that that fire and passion of yours that was there to begin with, that maybe you thought you weren't able to bring to fruition, now is actually a good time for you to do that. From the Ace of Wands to the Ten of Wands, you have gone through trials and tribulations. You're at the Eight of Wands now, so you're only two figurative steps away. And this fire energy is quick. Wildfires grow very, very quickly. So as long as you're coming from a place of heart and passion, and this project is something you're doing for yourself, it's going to, once you start working on it, it's just going to roll out of you, and it's going to also lead to new opportunities when this comes to an end. You see all of these little buds on the wands. Those remind us that even as we are working through cycles, or cycles are coming to an end, there are always other cycles that have begun or are about to begin, and they all have to do with each other. So if you're present in this and you're making sure that this project is everything that your heart dreamed of, and you don't hold back because you're afraid of what other people will say, and you shine your light as bright as you can, so much success will come. And so many other opportunities will come as well. I feel like this is a start for a lot of people where we begin to express ourselves and move and be the people that we have always wanted to be. The universe supports us in that now. So if there are any changes that you've wanted to make to your personal life, now is a good time to do that. Because as you make them, it'll prepare you for the next stage and the next project that you start. Okay, so that is our message for the week ahead in terms of tarot. I'm going to move on to the Moonology card in a minute, but first I'll tell you a little bit about how the moon is waning this week. So right now the moon is technically still full. Tomorrow it becomes a waning gibbous moon, so it still looks very bright and juicy, but it starts to get a little bit of a chip in it, I think on the right side, if you're looking at it from at least North America, or the Northern Hemisphere. And that is more of a yin phase. Like I said, the full moon is a yang phase. It's action oriented. It's taking the action that we've realized we've needed to take from all of the introspection and little first steps that we've already made. So the waning moon is a time for us to really just absorb all the information that maybe we were given by outside influences over the full moon, or realizations that we made within our own inner world over the full moon, because usually there are a lot. So yeah, just take some time to rest, meditate. Remember, that was our intention from the beginning of this lunar cycle, was to rest and meditate. So continue doing that. But with the card that I pulled, there is going to be some action needing to be taken, like I said, with the Eight of Wands. All of these cards actually have a very similar energy. This is a Leo card. So the new moon in Leo says confidence is your key to success. So even though this is the beginning of a journey, and this might be a bigger cycle for us, this might be a bigger amount of time than, say, the project that the Eight of Wands is pointing to. This does tell us, though, that in order to finish this project successfully, we have to have full confidence in ourselves. And as we enter this new half of the year, this new phase, the strength that we get from being confident in every part of who we are, the good and the bad, the black and the white, the gray, everything in between, will help us on this journey to shining our light to as many people as possible. If you think of the Leo zodiac sign, they are outgoing, talkative, they're friends with so many people, and they're easy to be friends with because they just have such a warm, loving energy. And right now, that is us. We have maybe gone through plenty of difficulty this year, but it's possible that there's a sliver of light that we're beginning to feel, a little bit of warmth, a little bit of a feeling of reassurance that even though we're not moving as quickly toward where we're meant to be, that we know that we are exactly where we're meant to be, and that we're confident in who we are right now, and that we know we don't need to be the Alyssa 2 years down the line, because it's pretty damn special who you are today. So just to make sure I haven't missed anything, because there's a lot of really positive energy here, just remember that the success of this journey isn't guaranteed. There are going to be times when your patience is tested. There are going to be times when you doubt yourself. So maybe now, as this card symbolizes a new moon, that's a good time for shedding things. Maybe now's a good time to shed self-doubt. If there are limiting beliefs that maybe you've picked up from childhood, now is a good time to look at those, because as much as we think we've gotten rid of them or worked through them, and as much as we do heal them, they do still come back in different ways and in a little less each time. But when you try to get to a place where you're even more yourself and you're shining your light even brighter, it's easy for your ego to shut that down. No matter how positive your self-talk has been for the last while, when you go to make really big decisions and believe in yourself, your ego, it knows how to grow. So if you have any of those limiting beliefs, if that brings anything up in you, it's good to journal those. You can even journal about the limiting beliefs and maybe sit on how they have benefited you, and maybe how they brought you to who you are today. Meanwhile, not actually wanting to carry them with you. If you write that on a piece of paper, burning it outside is always a good way to release it. But yeah, if you wanted to dance about it, there are so many different ways. And if you read some of my previous tarot readings, there are some good ways to release limiting beliefs. But yeah, that is my card for our Oracle pull. And I did want to just finish for the women who are watching. I have been following my menstrual cycle a little bit more often over the last few months. In the last year is when I started following the moon cycle, and I didn't realize that those two had so much in common, but they really do. And I wanted to just mention that everything I've been talking about in terms of the energies that are at play during the new moon to the balsamic moon, the end of the moon cycle, you can actually apply that to your personal moon cycle. There are two variations of cycles that you typically have, because we are really connected to the moon as women. The moon symbolizes the yin polarity, the feminine polarity, and the sun represents the masculine polarity. So for women, there are two cycles. So either you bleed with the new moon or around the new moon, close to it, which means that you then ovulate around the full moon, That's called the 𝐊𝐿𝐼te cycle. Yeah. Let's see. Yes. So the white moon cycle is more typical, though we all adjust from one cycle to the next. We will all go through phases where we are in one or the other. This cycle is attuned pretty much exactly to the way that the moon grows. So in the new moon phase, you are bleeding. Day 1 would be your first day of bleeding. So this is how you would track it. Count day 1 as your first day of bleeding, and if it's near the new moon, then you can follow the phases of the moon as you go along. Start in yin phase and just get some rest. Eat foods that are really nourishing and kind of starchy. And then once that phase is finished, you have a little bit more energy. It's a yang phase. And any lessons that you've learned over your bleeding phase, which is very intuitive, you're very connected to the outer realm or other dimensions in that phase, you can then integrate those lessons in the next phase. And so on and so forth for the 8 phases of the cycle. Now, you could also have the red moon cycle, which means that you bleed on the full moon. So that's the opposite. And it's just really interesting to tune into these cycles because you'll notice that a shift in your body occurs if you are following the moon cycles, but your body is on the red moon cycle, which mine is. And so this is less I don't want to say popular. This happens less frequently. And this is called the red moon cycle. And the women who have this are called wise women, I suppose, because in ancient times when all of the women would go off on their own when they were on their bleed, the priestesses and the healers would be the ones that weren't bleeding and that would lead the group and the women. So that's why it's called the wise woman cycle. I definitely feel that during that cycle you have a little bit more energy during the new moon, which is a little bit different to what everyone around you is experiencing. But there's also a lot of insight in that. So I didn't talk much about the red moon, but your cycle starts on the full moon if you do bleed with the red moon, which means that instead of being going outward and trying to achieve those goals and being surrounded by others, you will want to turn inward and retreat and spend that time listening to your body more than anything. And so it's just an opposite, but you can tune into both because there are so many cycles happening in our bodies, in our families, in our countries, in our world, so many cycles, and you can attune to all of them. It just takes some time. But I did want to mention that because I feel like I'm a woman and I had no idea how connected to the moon I was before. But it is really helpful if you take the time to rest when your body needs rest. It helps regulate your body a lot better as well. So a lot of benefits to that. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that was informative. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'm going to go write a caption for this, but I will join you back here next week on November 9th. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day, you guys.